That's you're talking way too much, bro. I try to keep it simple. If I do that, buddy, I'll I'm going to slump real quick. Just keep it simple. See ball, hit ball, man. This is as easy as you can make it.
And way easier said than done. I'm not sitting here saying it's easy, but we can't alibi it either. You know, we got to figure out a way to continue to take those good at bats, and sometimes, you know, we still do that, and you don't get rewarded. And a couple of times that happened in this series too. So it's a combination of things.
Oh boy, that conversation feels like a lifetime ago. Hi, everybody. I'm Marty Caswell. Welcome to Marty Time TV. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. I am delighted to be to be joined by a friend of the show. His name is Josh Cox. You guys may know him various ways. You may know him either as a marathon runner. You may know him as a diehard Padres fan. You may also know him as Daniel Jeremiah's brother-in-law. Josh Cox, how are you? How would you be preferred to be introduced today? If you could get one of those things on your business card, which one makes the cut?
I mean, probably DJ's brother-in-law, I think, is probably at the top of the list. No, I kid. We were texting this morning about some of my Tony Gwynn memorabilia. He was just back in Tennessee and was returning, and we were chatting all about that. But look, any moniker's fine. It's great to be on the show, Marty.
Awesome. Well, I do want to talk to you about the Rock and Roll Marathon, get some advice for some first-time runners, some returning runners, and we're going to get there. But because you are a Padres fan, a diehard, listen to me, and I don't want to go ahead and put words in Daniel Jeremiah's mouth, but he told me, he's warned me before, that you are a crazed, over-the-top Padres fans. Do you want to defend yourself, and would you like to go ahead and address just your concern over the Padres offense from the past week?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, bats can get hot, bats can get cold. They do it. I'm thrilled with where we're at record-wise this season. Had you told me before opening day that this is where we'd be at, I would have hit the yes button pretty quickly. You know, look, we need a left fielder with a bat, and I think bringing Hayward in was great. I think it's for what he provides as a leader, showing the young guys how to do it, his pregame prep, his presence in the locker room. I know it's been a positive force, and chatting with some folks, but look, we have to get the sticks going. You know, I mean, look, it's last night, it's Cease threw great, and but you're not going to win any games scoring 0. So it's you know, and Bassett looked good on the bump too, but all due credit there. But yeah, it happens. You know, I think we certainly need some more pop in our lineup. I love Arise at first, although it's a non-traditional play there, right? He's more Gwen, slap, get on base. I love watching the crew though. I mean, honestly, it's at being a fan since the 80s. My dad used to take us out to Yuma to spring training. I was showing DJ one of the balls that I got signed back when I was just a kid, and on one panel it's Garvey, McReynolds, Gwynn, and Bochy, you know, and it's like insane. I got that signed as a kid, you know, and you go, this is where we're at, and this is a golden era for Padres baseball. I know that everyone is you know, it's 5-alarm fire, the bats aren't going. It's like, look, you deal with the 90s and the 2000s, and you're 20 games under and still showing up. I was still showing up to the Murph in the 90s with $5 outfield seats and chanting "We're ready, Freddie" in right field, because they were all empty seats, and we could go over there and we'd hide behind and hope that Fred McGriff would pop one into the right field seats, and we'd run out and get it as kids, you know. So look, we are spoiled right now to be even complaining at all about this. But what Schilt has brought to this team, I love it. It looks like a college dugout out there. Guys up on the rail. They all have each other's backs. I'm excited. And look, there's a team up the 5 that spends a ton of money, and they have, going into this season, they had the longest and deepest pitching staff I'd ever seen. But you're looking at it now, and the reality is only one guy can toe the rubber at a time. And you know, they can be beat as we've seen. So I think it's just a matter of us getting out there, doing what we can do. And there's hot and cold and everything in between, but our lineup's pretty long. You know, it truly is. We just got to get the bats going.
Right. It's remarkable that they've slumped at the exact same moment. And by the way, Josh, I had planned to go ahead and start today's show saying, like, if you're a Padres fan, you can take consolation in the Dodgers, who had lost four straight at home, swept by the Angels at home for the first time like in 15 years. And they won yesterday on a walk-off in 10 innings. But here's the difference, and this is the important part, though. Here's the difference, okay? Because for the Dodgers, their reinforcements are coming. Shohei Ohtani is going to be back soon on the mound. Glasnow, Blake Snell, they're all progressing. They're getting Kirby Yates back. I mean, he's progressing from his injury as well. And with the exception of Yu Darvish, the Padres, there are no reinforcements coming. There is no injury situation. So I hope they figure it out. I think AJ Preller has to be aggressive when it comes to making trades. And I know the Dodgers actually just parted ways. They got rid of some longtime players, Chris Taylor. So they identified links. And listen, this year of all years, I don't think you have the luxury of time because you're not chasing one team. You're chasing three teams ahead of you. You're chasing the Dodgers are going nowhere. The Giants are legit, and the Arizona Diamondbacks, man, that's a very talented team. So we'll see what happens.
NL West is loaded, and everybody knows we're the best division in baseball. And look, every Dodgers, Giants, D-backs, us, all four should be playoff teams. I mean, this you look at it, it's tough sledding, but I do appreciate MLB going to the balanced schedule, so we're not facing these guys 18 times a year. And look, we can do it. We don't have the depth. I know that AJ, he's always working to make moves and do the right thing. I know that there's constraints with payroll and everything else, but he's a creative guy, and we have some guys coming up. DeVries in the minors is like, dude, he's going to be great. I think he'll get moved up to AA here soon, and he is something else. I mean, you look at it, we have guys coming that are going to help, but this year,
but not this year. He's not going to come up. There's no way.
No. Zero shot. But look, our org is in a good place. We're averaging 105% attendance at Petco. I mean, it's nuts. We're 39,000. We're averaging over 42,000 a game. I'm home. My attendance record is 12-3 now after this two games against the Mariners. We lost, and then the Suarez debacle on that last Monday with me and my son there was rough. But look, we're in a decent spot. But with Joe out, with you coming back, there's not a lot of wiggle room, and you can never have enough arms. You really can't.
Real quick, before we go ahead and get to the Rock and Roll Marathon, which will be in San Diego, I think June 1st when they're playing the Pirates. By the way, Padres fans, make your note, that's a 2:10 game because of the marathon being there. But I want to get to a comment that you just addressed right there on the golden era of baseball. And that's true. Darren and I used to have these conversations like which Padres jersey is safe to buy, because you're talking from an era where the Padres payroll started with a 3, and you knew they were going to trade their players, right? If the Padres had an all-star, if the Padres had, the one all-star rep, you could pretty much guarantee that player was going to be traded at the deadline. It might be Brad Hand, might be Kirby Yates. Just go ahead and name your Padres player right there. So it's different.
That's it.
Yeah, and you have you have all these superstars, like whose jersey is safe to buy. This last homestand, right, when the Padres had like their 19th sellout, and they were playing the Mariners, because the way I sit in the second row in the press box, right? So I'm close to both beer departments. And so after they announced their attendance, the guy from Seattle goes to the guy from the Padres and he says, "How do you guys do this with your attendance? This is remarkable." And I mean, it really, really is. I mean, Truly. It used to be about the giveaways, or as you know, at Jack Murphy Stadium, when they had dollar hot dog night versus the Expos, then you would get, that was something. 50,000 people would come out, and they would all eat, 4 hot dogs a piece for $1, which is kind of disgusting.
It is.
It is disgusting, but that was the draw. So it is a golden era baseball for the Padres. It's been remarkable. All right, Josh Cox, listen, you have a lengthy resume that I need to go ahead and read here off my phone. Let's see. Believer, husband, sports agent, NBC Sports, 50K U.S. record in 2009 and 11, 4-time Olympic trials, 3 U.S. national teams. That's remarkable. You just give us our listeners a background, our viewers a background. How did you get started in running marathons?
Yeah, really. I was a team sport athlete my whole life, playing baseball and soccer and even flag football. When I was younger, I loved it all, but the calendar only permits so much. And I was playing year-round soccer at age 10. Our coach was very good, a club team in San Diego, and He was part of the Mexican national team, so he ran our practices just like they did. We showed up, practice started at 5:15, and you had to be done with your 8 laps before 5:15 started. So the keepers and the defenders that were a little bit slower, they get there early and they jog their 8 laps around the track, and I'd show up straight from track practice or wherever I was coming from. It was always a staggered practice, and we'd get there. I'd eat a bunch of soft tacos from Taco Bell en route, in between to just try and fuel, and we do the thing. And I got super fit doing that and just playing soccer. And then my freshman year in high school, I wanted to go out for tackle football, and I was 5'1", 104 pounds, and Dad, let me play football. And he's like, you're not playing. You're not. And my dad was a Virginia State championship wrestler, went to Michigan State on a full ride. They won the national title in '68. He was very well aware of sports and the dynamic and size and puberty and all that. And he said, you're not going. I literally cried because I wanted to play football. And he said, why don't you go out for cross country and try and get in better shape and try and make varsity soccer as a freshman, which would be a big deal. And so I went out and, begrudgingly, I said, I'm not wearing those little shorts. This is 1989. So it was the dolphin shorts.
The Dev shorts?
I had those. It was like all the way up on the leg. And I'm like, I'm not wearing those shorts. And I didn't. I wore my Umbros, because it was just like, no, I have some pride and dignity. But anyway, I ran, I made the state meet my freshman year. And then I did make varsity soccer as a freshman in the winter season. And I was at Christian I in East County, and I was so happy never to have to run again. That's where my head was at. In the spring, I wanted to play baseball and play second. That's where I played. And all my buddies were playing. Vince Clark was a freshman there. Tony was a senior. Vince is my best buddy. Great guy. And I want to play baseball with my friends because baseball is fun and running isn't. Really, it's like, but it turned out, and as fate would have it, I ran and I progressed, and then I grew and I got really fast and ran in college. And then so it's a good segue to the Rock and Roll Marathon. In 98, I graduated. I was kind of dinged up and injured. In 99, I was running track. I was trying to qualify for the Olympic trials in the 5 and 10,000 meters, but we had a local running team in San Diego, sponsored by Mizuno, and I was stoked on that deal. And it was mainly a VIK deal, of value in kind, where it's product and some bonuses and some things. And I was training for the track, but our buddies were running the La Jolla half marathon, and I thought, you know what, I'll get in this and get in some over distance. And it starts at Del Mar and goes over the big Torrey Hill and finishes down in La Jolla. And I ended up winning that and beating this guy from Mexico City, and started really thinking about the marathon. And I always loved doing it. And I chatted with my coach, and I told one of the guys running for the local Adidas team, Brian, his training partner had been hurt. He was planning on trying to get his qualifier at the Rock and Roll Marathon San Diego, the second annual in 99. And I said, hey, I know your training partner James is hurt. I'll come out and I'll run this thing with you through 30K or 20 miles, 18.6 or 20 miles. And I got out there, and I had some issues. With coffee and having to go to the bathroom during the race, and it was a new thing for me. But I ended up, long story short, long story longer, I ended up finishing 8th, and I ran 2:19:58 in my first one, and I qualified for the Olympic trials. And Rock and Roll back then, they had that was the A standard, the Olympic trials A standard for U.S. runners was 2:20, and I ran 2:19:58, so I was 2 seconds under. But there was like I don't know, it was $2,500 or $4,000 bonus or something. And for me, being broke, like as a college graduate, but working part-time and doing everything, I was like, an extra couple grand was a big deal to me then. I was living at home at my dad's, and I was stoked on it. And all of a sudden I started getting all this attention because I was the youngest qualifier in the United States for the marathon trials, and Runners World put me on the cover, and all these things started happening. And then the next in 2000, I ran the trials. I finished 18th, but then that fall I went to Chicago and ran 2:13, which was the 4th fastest time in the country. Which at that point, running became my vocation rather than my avocation.
Oh wow! That's amazing. That's fantastic. You've had remarkable success. I've enjoyed having you on the show from different marathons, Boston Marathon, of course, from the big ones when we'd have you on the show back in the day. My 14-year-old nephew is going to run the half marathon, the Rock and Roll Marathon. Okay, so that's what 13 miles. My sister-in-law is going to run the full thing. For cool. Kids, if you're a teenager, when's a good safe age, considering if you're in good health, to start running for a marathon? What's the best way to go ahead and ramp up?
Yeah, I would say stay away from the full marathon until you get older.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, look, college is fine. I know a lot of collegiate athletes that run marathons that aren't necessarily on an NCAA program, running, the 5,000 and 10,000, but you want to be careful with anything. But I'm never one to discourage getting out the door and sweating. Everyone wants advice, and hey, how do you succeed at this thing? And the best advice I ever received was, look, by and large, you just need to wear out your running shoes. And it's like, there's only one way through, and the first step is the best step. It's getting out the door, getting off your couch, lacing them up, and getting out the door. And even if it's, hey, I'm just going to go for a mile, I'm just going to go for 2, because the toughest part isn't the actual running. It's convincing yourself, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get out the door and make something happen. And once you do it, I mean, I didn't fall in love with running. I didn't like it. I mean, frankly, I did it as a means to an end, because I didn't like losing. And the best thing that happened to me was a freshman coming in who trained all summer, and I was doing soccer tournaments all summer and whatever. I showed up cross country, and this kid who ran 7 miles all summer every day, he was kicking my butt, and I was like, well, I'm better than him. I was doing the other thing. And it all, you decide, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose greatness here, and I'm going to see how good I can be. And really, with training for the marathon, I think a lot of times people go, it's too long of a buildup. They'll say like a 20-week, but really I think 12 to 14 weeks is a good amount. It's really about getting out there and getting in the work. If you can find a training partner, I think that's super important. A training group, either like on a Tuesday. There's a lot of Tuesday meetups, Saturday morning meetups, Sunday morning meetups. Find some of those people, to help keep you accountable.
Sorry, I hopefully we're some bucket shoes over here. Oh, still there? Let's give me 1 second, guys. Okay, there's Josh Cox. Okay, you led me to my next question on how you should build up, because like my brother-in-law is going to train. He's going to do like a crash course 2 week ramp up. So we'll see how we do. Josh Cox disappeared me on me again. I don't want to go ahead and test this too much longer with my crappy Ethernet. We're going to see what's going to happen here. Josh, what's your go-to in your running shoes?
Yeah, I work with all of the shoe brands, so I largely try to remain brand agnostic. But I will say that there are a lot of great shoes out there, and particularly there's the trainer shoes, and now there's the super shoes. And the super shoes are really like it's a day of battle sword that you should use in the race. Okay. But I wouldn't use those super shoes every day when you're out there training. Find something that works for you, and I would say, go and find a run specialty store, try them on, see what works, see what feels good on your feet. I wear Asics, I wear Hokas, I wear Nikes, I wear Sauconys, I wear Ons. They send me the shoes, right? And you wear them and you go, okay, well, I like these. This is what's working for me. And staying on soft surfaces is great. If you can find trails, I think that's really important. Just dirt, grass, any of that. I know a lot of what we do in the city is on roads, and that's good for callousing the legs, particularly when you're training for a marathon, full 26.2. But certainly the whole idea with shoes is that the pounding has to go somewhere. It's either into the earth or into your body. So finding a good pair of shoes first and foremost, and not wearing them more than 400 miles, I would say switch them out after that. And when you start training for a marathon, those miles can add up. So really keeping tabs on that, and really just try and make it fun, keep it fun, and find that training group that can help keep you accountable. And I would say my race day advice is that everybody goes out too fast, even the pros. I mean, I would say it's
Okay.
85% of people go out too fast. You want it, the fastest times in history are run even or negative splits. That means the same pace throughout, or the second half faster than the first. So you really want to you want to pace yourself. I know it's tough at the start. The music's going, everyone's there, everyone takes
Ramped
off,
up.
and you feel good. Just keep the horses in the barn,
Okay.
and just relax and stay calm, and then work to run the second half faster than the first. And this really applies to the half marathon, a 5K, a 10K, and particularly in the marathon. I always say run the first 20 with your head, and that's pace, and then run the last 10K with your heart, and that's race. But you don't want to get emotional and get over your skis too much that first 20 miles. You want to really take your time, be sure that you're getting in your fluid. The body can't store 26 miles worth of glycogen, the primary source of fuel and endurance activity. So you do need to fuel, and you need to practice that fuel in training too. A lot of folks will have the gels in their shorts. They'll wear the little fuel belt, things like that. I would suggest training with that, particularly if you're running a marathon. That the half marathon, it's not as important, but there is a thing called the wall, and it's there because you run out of fuel. So you get on the other side of 20 miles. If you're not fueling en route, you're not going to make it through.
Nutrition wise, I mean, everyone's different depending on their individual diets and what they can consume. What do you like to go ahead and do the night before? Like, how do you prepare your body to go ahead and have as much longevity as possible?
Yeah, it's a really great question. Something we would do when I was competing professionally is every week we would do a long run, which is the most important workout. If you can only have one workout when you're training for a marathon, make it the long run. Get up to a place where you can run. I'm not saying go out and run 26 miles, but work up to 15 miles, 18 miles, 20 miles, 22 miles. I'm a big fan. The cardinal rule of marathoning is don't do anything new on race day. And particularly if you've never raced one, I wouldn't suggest going out and training a long run for 26.2, but I would suggest doing one run at least for the amount of time that you're shooting for in your marathon. So it's a slower pace, but at least be on your feet for that amount of time. Something we would do every other week would be a marathon simulation. So we would go the last 24 hours before our long run. I would simulate it like it was the day before the race. So what am I eating the breakfast the day before? What am I having for lunch? What am I having for dinner? What time am I waking up? For me, it was normally 3.5 hours before gun time, but I needed that amount of time to get in my coffee, get everything through my system, have something very simple. I was a big white rice guy. I would stay away from the breads, and there's different ways to get your carbs. I have my GI is pretty sensitive when I would run marathons. So
okay,
I would go like chicken and rice the day before. Even when we're on the road, I mean, we were just in Boston, and and when we go to New York and these other races, I'll ask my clients, I'll say, hey, you need anything? And like, I'm just trying to hunt down some food. I'm like, hey, let me go to Chipotle. And legit, I just would go and get a bowl of triple rice, and
I love the rice.
It's great. And it's super simple. You know what you're getting. But all this to say, everyone's an experimental one. So particularly with the diet, you really need to focus on exactly what works for you. Yeah. And the only way to find that out is to road test it in training. And this goes for fueling when you're out there on the course, of course, but it's also the 24 hours leading in. So for me, it was a ton of white rice. It's not very sexy. It's not very fun. But on race weekend, it's food for function, not food for fun. We do the fun stuff after. That's like when we go and celebrate. But you have to know what your body will handle. And the only way to know that is to practice it in training with your long runs. And I suggest doing that build the last 24 hours. So, and particularly the morning of, figuring that piece out too, is super essential.
Josh Cox, this has been such a fun conversation. If it hadn't been for my partially torn MCL, you may have inspired me to go ahead and run my first marathon. I've never done it. I don't know why. I run every single day, but I run for a couple of reasons. Number one, stress burner. I live at the beach, so I freaking love it. My best ideas come to me when I'm running. Also,
me too.
I like to drink beer, and so as long as I run, I'm allowed to drink beer. So those are my reasons. How come you haven't gotten Daniel Jeremiah out there on you with you to a marathon?
You know, we ran together a handful of times when he was up here in my neck of the woods, and he I think it's in him. I think
so?
DJ I do. I think he just needs to be convinced that this is a good pursuit, and he's into it. He's into fitness, he's into health, he's into golf. He's given up basketball since his torn Achilles.
That's not fun. I know it's not funny, but it's like, I mean,
it's not. But hey, as we age, we need to stay in our lane, you know.
Josh Cox, you're the man. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you at Petco Park one of these days.
Yes, sounds good. Thank you, Marty.
All right, take care. All right, that was Josh Cox, NBC Sports, 50K U.S. record in 09 and 11, 4 Olympic trials, 3 U.S. national teams. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the conversation. Again, the Rock and Roll Marathon is going to be June 1st in San Diego. That's a Sunday when they're playing the Pirates, and because of the marathon, the game will be at 2:10 instead of 1:10. Okay, to go ahead and close today's show, and thank you so much for joining me. We're brought to you again by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Here's my conversation with Padres pitcher Jeremiah Estrada on how the chitter came to be. CHITTER. I did not say a bad word. I know my mom watches the show, so my conversation with Padres pitcher Jeremiah Estrada. I hope you'll enjoy it. You first started pitching, and what's the first? Go ahead and throw.
We're
going way back.
I don't know. Honestly, I mean, well, actually, I do know. I mean, ever since I was just young, my dad always had me as a pitcher. He had me play everywhere.
Okay.
To be honest, what we were kind of going for was getting recruited as a catcher. And I was getting recruited as a catcher because I played everywhere on the field.
Okay.
And my dad would put me in a pitch whenever we needed to, or whenever we would make it to the championship. Of course, I was the hardest thrower, and I was that guy. But the thing is, we barely made it to the championship, so we didn't get to pitch much unless we needed to. If anywhere else I was playing, I was either catcher or shortstop.
Catcher or shortstop. So okay.
But the only pitches I was kind of allowed to throw was just fastball changeup.
Okay.
My dad never told me to throw sliders because he always said wait until we're in high school. So it was always fastball changeups, and I think every now and then I would add a slider just for fun. But yeah, fastball changeup.
There's a lot of breakdowns on the chitter, which, by the way, imagine you can't teach a 7-year-old to say, let's talk about Estrada.
You cannot teach. Okay, all these kids are like, can you show me? I'm like, you're going to have to wait till your hands are a lot bigger.
Not even to throw it, to say it. You can't even say that because you can get in a little bit of trouble if you're not very careful.
That's the point of why I mentioned it like that. Just a little fun. I mean, of course.
Okay, go ahead and take me through it. Can you go ahead and break down what that pitch is exactly?
So I've always had a circle change growing up. My dad and I, one of our favorite pitchers combined was Pedro Martinez, but he had a wicked changeup, and we would always research, try to do what he would try to do, and I had my own changeup, but then we kind of, as I got older, I tried doing his, and it was working, and then sometimes it wouldn't, and then I'd go back to my old, and it was just always a different thing. But when I got drafted, I kept it, and after that, they took it away. The Cubs took it away, and I really needed a change-up. And in 2023, with that year with the Cubs in the big leagues, they were trying to have me throw like a fork ball or like a splitter, but out of these 2 fingers, and it did not feel good. But I tried it, and I wasn't going to tell them no. I want to do whatever was going to keep me in the big leagues. And next thing you know, it just wasn't working. And it started causing some problems with my arm, and velocity went down, and just everything was just kind of going down the toilet. And that got optioned, and things were just kind of going bad, and couldn't figure it out. And then I told him, like, okay, I'm done throwing this. Like, I need to just stop. And then things were getting worse, giving up hits, giving up everything. And, they pretty much just told me, hey, go to AAA, throw this new slider. They also told me to throw a new slider. And also this splitter, we don't care what you need, we just want you to throw it in game to get that practice in. I'm like, and what happens if I can't throw strikes? And they're like, well, you have a really good heater. I'm like, okay. So I wasn't able to throw any other off speeds or strikes, so I tried throwing that heater. I was getting hit off a lot. And they were trying to send me to AA. And I was like, yeah, no, you're not going to do that. I need to figure myself out. So I've tried to figure myself out. Went home. or no, I asked them to kind of send me to Arizona to kind of work on some stuff, and I was like, I'll figure it out myself. And they were not happy about that, which pretty much was the reason why they DFA'd me, on top of many other reasons. I mean, I've been with them for 6-something years. You know, there's always been up and down roller coasters, but I was just in my room trying to go to my old changeup, and I couldn't throw it. Just had no feel for it. And then I tried this changeup, I tried that, and then I tried the Vulcan, which is kind of the similar what mine is, but it wasn't working because, like, kind of just like the way of, I think it's more of just the mind, and I mean, as a pitcher, it's more about feel. And I wanted kind of the movement that I wanted to just drop and also fade like my old changeup. So I put it as a Vulcan grip like this and went to go throw it one day, and I was like, okay, it's not working. So then from there, I was just like, all right, I'm going to curl these two and then leave these two up, which is, I think I have a ball. So normally, like, I was taught to throw a splitter like this, but it was not working and it hurt. So I tried the Vulcan like that, which was right here. But the Vulcan is like, kind of like what everybody says, to just hold it like this. But I didn't do that. All I did was kind of just like tell myself to kind of put this on top now. And then I circle these two. So now it looks like this. But when I throw it, it ends up being a certain way where it ends up kicking off of this finger. But the reason why I can't throw the other pitches, sorry, this is long, by the way. The reason why we couldn't throw my other splitter is because the way my fastball is. Like, I get very behind, and like it was just hard. So like, that's why I can't even throw a really good slider, because the fastball takes over a lot. So when I tried throwing that Vulcan, it would end up just getting to here and end up being like a rising, crappy ball. So in order for me to actually exaggerate it, I had to really like curl these two like this. And then when I throw it, it somehow ends up being, since this is already curled, it'll release off of this and then spin. Just kind of all like the metric stuff that you'll see. But yeah, I was just like right there, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna splitter. So I would call it like a Vulcan change, I guess. But like me being excuse my language, but me being just a big goofy guy or a jackass, you know, I just wanted to call it something that was close to a bad word. So I mean, I grew up a bad kid, so why not continue being bad? But yeah, I just did that, and I was like, and I was talking to Ruben, and he was, what do you call this thing? And I was like, I don't know, I want it to be like a changeup, but it's a splitter. So I was like, why don't I just call it a chitter, you know, or something like that. And I was like, imagine like, what would you call a knuckleball that cuts? I don't want to get to that, but.
Wow. You've been waiting for that one, haven't you?
I've been actually throwing it. I've been trying to throw a knuckleball and it cuts, and I'm like, what the heck, a knuckleball and a cutter? What would you call that? And I was like, oh yeah.
This is what you're gonna do. One day you're gonna be mic'd up on the broadcast with Mud and Orsillo, and you pose that question to them and see if Mud will have Mud.
What they'll say. I mean, they're gonna think of knuckleball, so they're gonna start with "na" and then "ter." So, but yeah, that's just kind of it is. But at the end of the day, like as a baseball player, what matters the most is how it feels. Yeah. That's all that everybody's gonna say is has some feel. And I was just in my room and literally doing this, trying it like this. It really didn't matter. I was trying to figure out something that was gonna help my career. And I got to that point where I was like, let me try to go to this whole change and just kind of like exaggerate myself. And I really had to tell myself to like anybody can just go right here and just throw it. But like to me, I was doing this and it would still, this would end up being like this. It would end up being like this, and like it would just rise. But in order for me to kind of exaggerate, I told myself, like, instead of this, just make it feel like your ball's on top like this, or your fingers are on top. So in my view, you guys are saying this. But when I release it, it ends up turning into like that Volk-ish, and then it just kicks off. Because it's all about feel. And anybody else that's going to complain about it, say it to my face.